I can still picture the exact instant those automatic doors at St. Vincent Medical Center flew open late that Friday night. Two paramedics came rushing in, pushing a gurney at full speed with a teenage boy thrashing in the grip of a seizure. The entire waiting room froze, hushed except for the steady beep of the monitor clipped to him. And then, like a screech of nails across a chalkboard, came a voice that would dominate our ER for the next 3 hours. "Excuse me, my cough is an emergency too." The woman actually stepped directly in front of the gurney, swinging her designer purse like she was conducting traffic. The paramedics were forced to swerve around her, while still trying to keep the patient stable. "My name's Ryan Calloway. I've been an ER nurse at St. Vincent in Cedar Ridge, Ohio for 6 years. I've seen stab wounds, highway pileups, and once a man who glued his own hand to his face on a dare. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for Melinda Proctor." She planted herself at the ER entrance, 5 feet 4 inches of pure entitlement dressed in a leopard print cardigan. Her bleach blonde hair was teased so high it nearly added inches to her frame, and a rhinestone-covered mask dangled uselessly below her chin. She waved long acrylic nails painted with tiny hearts, demanding attention. According to the intake form she'd filled earlier, she was 49 years old and described herself as a holistic wellness coach and spiritual healer. That night, the waiting room was already a madhouse. 2 drunk college kids who toppled off the same skateboard, an old man named Harold with a fishhook jam in his thumb, a pregnant woman with false labor, and at least 4 people coughing with flu-like symptoms. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. Peak chaos. And then came Melinda. As I helped the paramedics steer the seizing boy through triage, her voice trailed us like an alarm. "Hello? I've been coughing for 2 whole days. If I don't get treated right this second, I'll sue this hospital for neglect." Without breaking stride, I answered as calmly as I could, "Ma'am, seizures take priority over non-emergency symptoms. Someone will see you as soon as possible." She slammed her rhinestone sandal against the linoleum so hard that people looked up from their phones. "Well, my cough is contagious. That boy can't spread seizures to anyone, but I could be spreading pneumonia or tuberculosis or worse." In that moment, the entire waiting room went silent, every eye fixed on her. A college kid in a backward cap leaned toward his buddy and muttered loud enough for half the room to hear, "Bro, did she really just compare her cough to a seizure?" Meanwhile, we rushed the teenager, Tyler Morrison, according to his terrified mother sprinting beside us, into Trauma Bay 3. His seizure had stretched past the 4-minute mark, and we were fighting against the clock to prevent permanent brain damage. I prepped the 4 kit while Dr. Patricia Novak readied the anticonvulsant. Tyler's mom clutched his hand, tears streaming as she whispered prayers. After we administered lorazepam and finally got the seizure under control, I headed back toward the waiting area to check on other patients. What I saw froze me in place. Melinda had taken over a wheelchair that clearly belonged to Harold, the elderly man with the fishhook in his thumb, and was sitting in it like a queen on her throne, fanning herself dramatically with a flu symptom pamphlet. Harold stood nearby, wobbling on his cane, too polite to confront her, though the strain was written all over his face. His wife, Margaret, on the other hand, was shooting daggers at Melinda with her glare. "Ma'am," I said, summoning whatever patience I had left, "that wheelchair belongs to another patient who actually needs it." She gripped the armrests as if she were bolted down. "I need it more. I'm having breathing problems from this cough. This is discrimination." "I know my ADA rights." I calmly guided Harold back into his rightful chair, replying, "The ADA doesn't protect stealing mobility aids from people who truly need them." Margaret muttered something under her breath that I'm fairly sure wouldn't pass FCC standards. That's when Melinda marched straight to the triage desk and planted herself there like a barricade. "If you don't treat me first, I'm calling Channel 7 News. I'll tell them all about how St. Vincent lets people die in the waiting room while playing favorites." And that was the exact moment Shauna Jackson stepped in. Shauna was our charge nurse, a veteran of 23 years in emergency medicine. At 5 feet 11 inches with arms strong enough to restrain a full-grown man and a voice that could slice through bedlam, she was a force of nature. She'd already dealt with 3 cardiac arrests that shift, and patience was a luxury she didn't have left. She strode up to Melinda with pure authority radiating from her. Even the rowdy college kids straightened in their seats. "Ma'am," Shauna said, her voice steady as steel, "let me explain something to you. You just stole a wheelchair from an elderly patient. You blocked emergency care for a child in an active seizure. Now you're threatening staff and making false claims about your health. That's theft, interference with emergency services, and disorderly conduct. So here are your options. You can sit quietly and wait your turn like everyone else, or security can escort you out, and we can add trespassing to the list. The room went dead quiet. Everyone was watching like they were tuned into the season finale of our entitled edition. Someone even had their phone out, recording every second. Melinda's face cycled through 3 shades of red before landing somewhere between plum and eggplant. This is a public hospital. You can't kick out a sick woman. I pay taxes. I want to speak to your manager. Bring me the head of this hospital right now. Shauna didn't even flinch. I am the manager on duty. And you're absolutely right, this is a hospital. Which is why we don't tolerate people endangering actual emergency patients with their behavior. She gave a nod to Marcus and Antoine, our security guards who'd been quietly watching. Both were pros at handling unruly visitors, and they stepped forward with calm, practiced authority. "Don't you dare touch me," Melinda shrieked, backing toward the exit and pointing at random people in the crowd. "I have a cough. I could have the plague. You're all getting sued." Marcus, built like a linebacker but speaking with the gentleness of a kindergarten teacher, said, "Ma'am, we won't touch you if you leave voluntarily. But you need to leave now." As they guided her toward the doors, she kept shouting, "This is unconstitutional. You can't deny me medical care. I have the right to cough first." From his wheelchair, Harold, the elderly man still sporting a fishhook in his thumb, rasped, "Lady, I got a hook stuck in me, and even I'm not whining as much as you." The waiting room erupted with laughter. Even Margaret cracked a grin. One of the college kids started a slow clap that spread until half the room was applauding her exit. Security escorted Melinda outside, where she spent the next 20 minutes pacing the parking lot, recording herself on her phone, ranting about injustice while occasionally throwing in a theatrical cough for emphasis. Through the windows, we could see her gesturing like she was filming her own courtroom drama. Back inside, I checked on Tyler. His seizure had stopped, his vitals were stabilizing, and his mother clutched my hand, tears streaking her face. "Thank you. Thank God you got him in when you did." That woman, was she really trying to cut in before my son? I nodded. She shook her head in disbelief. Some people have no shame. 2 hours passed. We patched up Harold's hand, sent the skateboard duo home with bandaged knees, and admitted Tyler for overnight observation. Just as things started to calm, the automatic doors slid open again. There stood Melinda. Clutching her throat, staggering dramatically, she stumbled toward the triage desk, gasping between words, "Can't breathe," choking.